I think the hardest thing so far for me has been to like stay active, to go out, because it's like I've done it for so long, and now it's just like, okay, well, now I have to force myself every day to get up and try to do something. I think that's the toughest thing, but I recently started to find a goal, and that's what we're going to try to achieve. And I mean, I think the coolest part now about being retired is I get to spend so much time with my son. And we do travel a lot, and he travels with us sometimes, but just every day, now when we're home, being able to watch him do certain things, and every day is something different. I think that's something that's really cool. I mean, I'd like to get back into some kind of shape. For me, living as a swimmer for 20 plus years, it was easy for me just to stay into shape and not worry about what I'm eating or this or that, because I know I'd burn it off easily. So I just like to tone some things up and get a little bit more muscle in there and burn some fat. So we're trying to find exercises that aren't boring to me and aren't the same ones that I've done for the last 20 years. So I think that's the biggest thing. But I've been working with my trainer, and I mean, I'd probably lose 5 pounds, I'd be happy. I don't do much. I used to do a lot, but then like right when I came back from the Olympics, I started getting back into the pool and was spending a lot of time in the water. But my trainer basically said, unless you want to swim 7,000 to 8,000 yards or meters of workout, you're not going to get a workout. You're just too efficient in the water that it's just, if you go and swim 2 or 3 miles, it's kind of a waste of time. But for me, I think the biggest thing, if I go swim now, it's not exercise-wise. It's more just to let go of whatever I have in my head and just allow myself to be free. I think that's one place where I'm so relaxed and so at home that I can think about things, or I don't have to do interviews, which there are good things for me just to be able to let go when I'm in there, and I think that's the greatest part. It's just like a release from my mind. I mean, I think that's where I was 4 years ago. I hated being back in the water. I hated being around the pool, and I think that's why I retired. I think being able to come back, finding out the true enjoyment that for me of what I have in the pool, I think is something. It's incredible. It'll always be a part of my life, and swimming has done so much for me in my life. And I think now I can do it on my own time. I'm not forced to go and swim, 4 or 5 hours. I think now it's like we can get in the pool with our son, or I can go and be outside and see a nice blue sky and sunshine and have some relaxation. It's more meditation, I think, for anything else now. I think looking back at those games, watching the races that I competed in, the 200 fly for me is probably one of my greatest Olympic races of my life. Being able to come back after the defeat in 2012 and just to get back to that point. I think that's something that was a challenge for, within itself. Taking a year and a half, almost 2 years off, getting myself back to where I was able to compete and finish exactly how I wanted. I think that was the special thing. But I mean, I think that's where you saw the biggest celebration for me after that race, where I'm sitting on the lane lines, basically saying, "Bring it." But it was just a cool moment, and I wanted that one back really bad, and being able to look up and see my wife and son up there, which was just something I haven't had before, and just a treat to be able to have that opportunity a couple years from now to be able to share with Boomer what he saw, and kind of what I did throughout my career. I think everything happens for a reason, and where I am today, I wouldn't change. Sure, was my career, I had some ups and downs in it, both in the pool and outside of the pool, but for me, that's what made me who I am today, and I'm happy when I look in the mirror and see who I am, and I think I'm more happy every day now than I ever was before, and I think that's something that you couldn't pay me enough to change. I mean, my biggest thing and why I was able to keep longevity was just the goals that I had. Even once I was at the top, I wanted to stay there. I didn't want to get knocked down, and I think it's even harder once you get to that point in your career where you're basically being chased. And for me, I always made sure that I was taking care of what I needed to, whether that was eating, sleeping, training, whatever it was, mentally preparing myself for any race. But I had fun with it. I think that's the biggest thing. For so long, there was probably a 2-year span in my career where I hated it, other than that, like, I loved it. You know, for me, if I could, I mean, it's funny I'm saying this. I thought about this. I mean, my body was, if my body would allow me to go 4 more years, I would, because the last 2 years were so enjoyable for me. You know, but looking back, it's like there's nothing else. You know, and now it's time for my family and to start the new chapter of my life. And I think that's something that, you know, for me, being able to retire on that note, there's no better way to retire, and there's no better way to end an amazing career. And you know, I'm happy I was able to come back for one more. I had some shoulder problems the last couple of years, so I'd rather have a shoulder where I can throw a football with my son or baseball with my son in the backyard than to have a kind of a bum arm and not be able to really do that. I think that's something for me. You know, family is more important than my body and what I'm, you know, about to, or what I would do if I would go back for another 4 years. I wouldn't do it. He'll know how to swim. If he wants to swim, that's his choice. You know, I think that was one thing really special with my mom, you know, for me growing up as a kid. She never really pushed me to really do what she wanted me to do. She just let me kind of trial and error and follow my heart and follow my dreams. And you know, I think if she pushed me as a kid, I don't think I would have made it this far. So, you know, for me, big hats off to my mom for allowing me to find something that I was passionate about and dedicated about. And the goals and the dreams just kind of took over, and nothing was going to stop me from achieving those. Yeah, I mean, and it's hard because it's like, you know, as an athlete, you get pushed from all different directions, and it's like, you know, for me, like I said, having a single mother who's just so supportive of everything that I was doing, I think that was the best. And you know, like I said, without her, none of this would have been possible. I mean, it really just depends. I think, you know, you look at the sport today and what it's at. It's so deep. You know, every event is so deep. You know, there's you know, arguably probably the best swimmers in the world at the top of each event. So, you know, to be able to be as versatile and as dominant in so many things, I think has gotten a lot harder. And you know, you look at, I guess, some of the up-and-coming athletes that potentially could do something. It just depends on how they take care of themselves away from the pool. It's everything that goes into that equation that I think really ends up paying off at the end of the road. And it's, you know, for me, as you know, starting as an 11-year-old kid, you know, that's when everything really started, and everything just kept paying off. I was putting in a bunch of work, and you know, for me, people always say, they're like, "Would you want to see your record get broken?" I said, "Of course I would." I mean, you know, like, for me to be able to see that, that's, you know, for me, it's showing that there's a kid out there that's hungry enough, that doesn't care what he has to sacrifice, the pain he has to go through. It doesn't matter. He wants to be the best, or she wants to be the best. And I think that's something, if I could see that one day, it would be just an absolute treat.